Hello, everybody. Josh Neighbors here. Locked on Big 12 podcast. Today it is the 25th of April, 2022. And on today's show, we will be discussing a few things. Number one, the spring game attendance at Oklahoma is a big story over the course of the weekend. Want to hit on that just a bit. Also, going to hit on the fact that it's the NFL draft week. And it's kind of a weird week. I'll talk about that too a little bit. And also, it was quarterback week last week. It's going to start to be running back week this week. So I'll get into a little bit of that as well. A lot of football coming up today on this Monday edition of Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, hello everybody. Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Big 12 podcast. Glad you are with us today. Thank you all for subscribing to the channel. We've had a lot of growth over the last couple weeks. It's been a big couple weeks for us, so glad you guys are enjoying the content. Love the comments, love the conversations that we get as well on a lot of the videos in the comments section. So appreciate you all. Keep giving those videos upvotes. If you don't like them, I guess you can give them a downvote. And also, if you guys have not found us on YouTube yet, make sure you guys find us there. But keep sharing the podcast. It's growing. Appreciate your all's patronage on this show. No, I am not trying to look like Josh Pate today. If you guys are watching on YouTube, I know he has the white shirt gimmick with the microphone. It's kind of his thing. This was just the first shirt I could find after getting back from the gym. So no, it is not a Josh Pate impression mentioning the gym and wearing a white shirt today. First thing we're going to start off with on the show is the conversation around Oklahoma's spring game attendance. Now, last week, some people said, oh, you guys are OU homers. Of course, you guys put Dylan Gabriel first. You think OU might win the conference, all of those things. But here's the thing. Look, I'm not happy Oklahoma and Texas are leaving going to the Big 12. Nobody who's a Big 12 fan is, and I am a Big 12 fan. Not pleased about that. So, yeah, was I enjoying the heck out of last year's Oklahoma State-Baylor championship in the Big 12? Heck yes, I was. I definitely was. But still, we had to recognize the reality. Oklahoma has been dominant force in this conference in recent years. And, I think they're still in a position to do that or not dominate, but still be one of the best teams in the conference. And so much was made, of the Lincoln Riley departure because OU fans were, really, really, really salty, I guess, rightfully so, but up to a certain point about him leaving. There was the Players Tribune article last week, which, I think a lot of people found pretty hollow and shallow, and there wasn't really much substance to it, in my opinion, that we saw. So, I think there is, that's been going on and kind of restoked some things. And also, I think there was, this conversation developed and it frustrated some people, who my good friend Robbie Triano being one of them, and we talked about it last week, but Oklahoma being better off with Brent Venables than without him, or than with Lincoln Riley. And so, I'm, as somebody who's not an OU fan, I think there are some short-term losses, but maybe some long-term gains. I think that's where I'm at with this. And I pitched this idea several times. I kind of stand by it right now. Obviously, there's still some things to be sorted out with who's on the team fully, transfer portal stuff. We think Dylan Gabriel's going to be the quarterback. What do things look like for them on offense? Is the defense going to improve at all under Brent Venables, et cetera? So, those things, they have to be sorted out. But the big premise of this was when Oklahoma reached the top competition, when they made the college football playoff, really the things that stuck out where they're, like a sore thumb was their defense and, the appearances they made in those games. And I think, if we go back to their bowl appearances, the Peach Bowl, they gave up 63 points to LSU, 45 points to Alabama, and then 54 points to Georgia in those games that were in the college football playoff. And then also, you have the game, the Clemson game where they gave up, the 37 in the Orange Bowl a few years back. So this has become a trend in recent, memory of them and their defenses just being exploited in those moments, in those big games. them just getting absolutely killed on that side of the ball. And they've made so many efforts to try and stop that and quell that. And look, I know that game back in 2015 was not on them, but you go back to, especially the games, the Rose Bowl, Orange Bowl, and Peach Bowl, consecutively, those are the ones that really stood out in 54, 45, and 63 in a row. That defense at USC, like, are they going to get better at improving or recruiting great defensive players at USC? Is that problem still going to follow him there? Because as much as people like Alex Grinch, it didn't appear to be getting much better. We thought last year's defense was going to be that defense with the amount of guys they had up front, and it really ended up not being that good. Now, look, you might see Nick Bonito and Perrion Winfrey get drafted, and I think they definitely should be, and they might be good pro players. But I think there's a lot of questions that have to be answered about, how effective, those defenses were against top level competition when it got down to it. And that's the thing. The SEC and those behemoths, LSU, Alabama, those schools, and Georgia, obviously, are those behemoths, and those defenses just fell short in those situations. And I think when you bring in Brent Venables, you're bringing in a guy who's recruited great defensive players, won those recruiting battles for five-star caliber guys against SEC schools. And so that's where it starts for him. Now, look, how is he going to be as a guy managing a team? It seems going to be, it's going to be pretty good. We'll get to that in 1 second. And retaining coordinators on offense is going to be a definite challenge, as it always is when you bring in guys who are high-level talent. A lot of guys who are high-level talent are going to want to coach at places like Oklahoma. That's why Jeff Lebby has gone to OU. He wants to go and coach at a top-level place, and we'll see how long he sticks there and how much success that they have. But that's going to be a challenge as well. But when it comes to recruiting and getting those guys, those top-level guys on the defensive line and winning those battles for those great players, Brent Venables has got that experience. And so he's got to get this thing to that point. Now, I think he understands it's going to be a long, winding, long road. And that's where we get to this weekend's spring football game attendance, which was absolutely staggering. Now, I've seen different numbers, in different places about how many people actually showed up. But for Oklahoma, I think the number was 70,000+ is what you're seeing right now. I've seen some places where it's 75,360 is what OU, their Twitter account, tweeted out. That is absolutely remarkable. I believe it led the country this year in terms of spring game attendance. What does it mean? It really means that there's so much buy-in, and there were so many former players back there. And Brent Venables understands, like, they're about to embark on a journey together because of the way Lincoln Riley left. The fact that their future is in a conference in the SEC, the fact that Brent Venables used to be the DC at Oklahoma and he understands what it's all about. This is a different aesthetic. It's a different vibe. It's a different challenge, and it's going to be, one like to use that word again. It's going to be very challenging, especially against top level competition this year. It's going to be very challenging. Everybody else in the Big 12 conference wants to kick Oklahoma and Texas ass before they get out the door. That's what everybody wants to do because we're getting down to the point now where, look, I think OU and Texas are going to be here until 2025 till that grant of rights runs out. But look, that's no guarantee. We've seen with how crazy things are in college sports right now that there's no guarantee that the conferences look the same year to year, or what the expectations are for who is in what conference and when they're going to be leaving where. That stuff is just or how many teams will be in the college football playoff. That stuff seems to change year to year to year, month to month, even at some points. And so with that in mind, every team wants to give that parting shot or shots if they get opportunities like, we saw last year with Texas, because it was still fresh on people's minds. And so that window, I still think that motivation is going to be there. It's not going anywhere. And Oklahoma's going to have to manage that and also think about their future. Brent Venables, I think, might be the right man for the job in the future. But I just think this is a show of force that, look, what a brand Oklahoma is. I think there were a lot of Oklahoma fans who rightfully had their feelings hurt about the standing of their program. And, when Lincoln Riley left for a job like USC, that's a down USC, there were so many questions people kind of think like, okay, is Oklahoma the brand it used to be? They didn't even make the Big 12 championship. And this is just a show of force of that. This is one of the best brands in college football. This is why the Southeastern Conference ultimately wanted Oklahoma to come on board. While Texas might be the bigger overall brand, right? The Hook'em Horns, just that logo is so iconic. Um, the real success story in this conference has been Oklahoma in recent history. They've been the ones that have been really kicking ass in the last 10 years. And this was a reminder of what that fan base can do. I saw my XM colleague Gabe Eichert on his podcast, the Oklahoma Breakdown, saw a clip they posted on Twitter where former OU player and their current color commentator Teddy Lehman said, he was walking around campus and asking people, and most of them said, they came from New Jersey and New Mexico and Nebraska. They came from all over because Brent Venables told them to come. He said, pack the palace, and they did pack the palace. That was their goal, and they did. And I think setting an expectation like that and hammering it home and being forceful about it and asking all the players to come back, real show of unity. I mean, you have to feel good about where this Oklahoma program is right now. And the next challenge for them is going to be, still to try to reclaim the Big 12 crown before they leave the conference. But you can't help to be impressed. And, it's just fans showing up a game. And I'm not even going to talk about the spring game itself, actually. And they've got questions and they've got lacks of depth all over the place. But there was one mission he wanted to accomplish and it involved a lot of people, and it was accomplished. And so there is now momentum with that moving forward. I think Brent Venables deserves a lot of credit, and I'm excited to see what he does as head coach. I actually am really thrilled the fact that we get to see a great coordinator in Brent Venables go to a program like Oklahoma, and he gets to spend his first few years in the Big 12. I think we're going to be all really lucky to see that, and it's super interesting how that's going to work. Now, once again, I've got no clue what it looks like as him as a head coach, but he got a lot of good lessons from Dabo Swinney, and I think that's going to be something. How much of that does he apply? How much of the Swinney mentality does he use, and how much does he balance that with some of the new stuff that he wants to do? Those are all questions that we're going to see asked. Pretty excited to watch them get answered, but what a showing of force this weekend by the Oklahoma fans. I think it's important. It's one of the biggest stories around college football right now that we shout that out on today's show. All right, quick break. When we come back, we'll talk NFL draft coming up on today's show. But first, quick word from our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you by Built Bar. Go to built.com today. That's built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED, LOCKED15, LOCKED 15. So once again, LOCKED15, LOCKED 15 for 15% off at built.com. 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. That is what most Built Bars have. They taste good. They taste like candy bar, but they're better for you than a candy bar. You guys can check out all the flavors they've got available right now, once again, at built.com. They got plenty of them, all involving chocolate, which makes them really good. So once again, promo code LOCKED15 at built.com today. Also, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Athletic Greens. If you guys just want to feel better and start off each one of your days just feeling good, Athletic Greens is the way to go. It's lifestyle friendly. They eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good. It's 1 scoop of Athletic Greens in cold water every single day. You mix it up, tastes good. I'll tell you guys, the one thing that actually, I really liked about it, gut health improved. It made me feel a lot better. Just starting off my day. I think it's one thing we all want to feel better. Sometimes coffee doesn't make your stomach feel great. Athletic Greens, you'll be feeling really good to start your day. And we have a special offer for you all right now. To make it easy, Athletic Greens can give you guys 1 free year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs of Athletic Greens with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/college. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/college to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. That's Athletic Greens. All right, folks. So it's the NFL draft this week. It's starting, and it's one of the more tame draft weeks that I can remember, and here's why. Last year, man, was nauseating with the draft coverage. It was absolutely nauseating with the amount of talk about the draft every single day on Get Up, even when other sports were going, were happening. And that was all people could talk about. The reason being, you go look at the 2021 NFL draft, look at the guys who were drafted and where they were drafted. What kinds of players are being drafted in the first round? Quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, number one. Number two, quarterback, Zach Wilson. Number three, quarterback, Trey Lance. And then the 11th spot, quarterback, Justin Fields. Then you go down the list, quarterback, 15, Mac Jones was taken in the first round. You had five quarterbacks taken in the first 15 picks. And then I'm just going to pull up any random mock draft right now. Let's just find anyone. Let's just do Pro Football Talk. Maybe not the, your mileage might vary on Pro Football Talk, but we've got defensive lineman, edge, tackle, corner. Not hearing quarterback just yet. I know some people that may think Malik Willis will go. We'll see what happens. But then tackle, safety, receiver. Let's see, receiver, corner, edge, offensive tackle. This first, I think this is. Let's see, it's Peter. Is it Peter King doing this one? It's one to the top here. This one is. Oh, I think this is Dane Brugler's. Anyway, this is the Pro Football Talk one. First quarterback being taken. Let's see. Oh, Kenny Pickett at 20 to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I actually kind of hope happens just because I think it'd be, it's like the Pitt guy going back to Pittsburgh. It'd be just a lot of fun, I think. One quarterback in the first round. Nope, Matt Corral at 32 in a projected trade. So you're seeing right now, that's why, right? Maybe two QBs in the first round right now. Let's go to CBS Sports. Cody Benjamin's got this one. Quarterback, not seeing one. He's got Malik Willis at 5 to the Seahawks. Let's see what happens. I think Malik Willis, if he goes high, it's probably a good chance. Also, I think it'd be good if he goes high too, just so it's somewhere he can sit. Well, I mean, the guys in front of him might not be very good, but I think maybe you suck one more year. Or a good team takes him and you stash him away. But I don't think the plan with Malik Willis is to be good right off the bat. Matt Corral at 25 in a projected trade. So they've got three quarterbacks in the first round over here. Kenny Pickett, Matt Corral, and then Malik Willis. Quarterbacks drive all the conversation. Where is the love for the big fellas? Where is the love for these offensive tackles? Where is the love for these edge rushers? I think Aiden Hutchinson and Trevon Walker and Kayvon Thibodeau, those guys will get some love, right? But where is the love for Evan Neal, right? I know people are talking about it, but it's not out there for Charles Cross, and Ekwonu as well. I want the love to be spread around, but you're seeing mock drafts everywhere, guys going all over the place. And so while the coverage to me has been slight, I think it's going to be a really fun and interesting draft. I'm more interested in this draft than I have been in past drafts because I don't feel like I've been beaten over the head with the draft coverage. I'm intrigued to see where the quarterbacks will go and how their situations get handled. I'm interested to see how the wide receivers in the draft shake up. A couple guys from Ohio State, one from USC, Olave, Wilson, and then Drake London. I'm excited to see where all of those guys go and where they shake out because wide receivers are becoming prime targets. And the one sad thing from the Big 12 perspective is I don't think we're going to get any first round picks. I wrote it down. The guys that could go in the first round. Breece Hall is a candidate. I actually saw a mock draft that did have him go in the first round. Wouldn't be shocked if a team with a good offense wanted to add him, but maybe they think they get him in round 2. Jalen Petrie from Baylor is a player that a lot of people like. How do you not like him? Guy was effing fantastic last season. And then the two guys from Oklahoma, Perion Winfrey and Nick Bonito, would not be shocked if Winfrey went at the end of the first round. I think we're going to see him not make it to 45. I think that's probably the cutoff for him. But I think you're going to see a dearth of Big 12 players taken probably in that 32 to 45 range. I think Breece Hall, I don't think he makes it to 50. I think he's such a good quality offensive weapon. I mean, he's going to make your offense better. There's no way he does not make your offense better. And I think, when you get a player like that, when you're like, okay, I know for a fact that we just made our offense better, it might be worth a pickup there. Some people might say, okay, I want a higher upside type player. But, I think in this age of offense, a guy who can carry the rock and do different things for you out of the backfield and has a track record of staying pretty healthy as well, pretty darn good. So those are the guys that we're looking at here. But the NFL draft starts this week, and I'm pretty pumped for it because actually I haven't been beaten over the head with the coverage of it. So that's pretty exciting here. And then what happens with OU alum Baker Mayfield, who has a statue unveiled this weekend. All right, one more quick word from our sponsors, then we'll touch on some running back things before we get out of here. Today's show is brought to you all by BetOnline and BetOnline.net. It's your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. It's the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. It's Major League Baseball season right now. F1, NASCAR is happening as well. Boxing, UFC, Bellator had an event this weekend as well. All of that stuff you guys can bet on at BetOnline and BetOnline.net. Go there today. Playoffs, esports, and more. Head to their sleek-looking website on your phone, your tablet, whatever you guys use. Once again, go to BetOnline and BetOnline.net today. BetOnline is where the game starts. All right, so last thing I want to mention, because we're going to do some running back stuff this week. Take a look right here. I was doing some notes yesterday. All right, and this is just the starters from last season. All right, so the Big 12 as a whole, from a rushing perspective, is going to lose 7,255 yards last year and 74 touchdowns. And this is not even counting guys like Kendre Miller, like I'm saying in totals, or a Treston Ebner who is leaving. Like, this is not counting those dudes. This is Breece Hall, Abram Smith, Jalen Warren, Kennedy Brooks, Letty Brown, and Zach Evans. Those guys are all gone. And this was their production last year. 7,255 yards and 74 touchdowns. There are three guys I would say that are pretty entrenched as starters this year. Bijan Robinson, Deuce Vaughn, and Devin Neal. I'm sure that we're going to see all of those guys in the backfield. You can probably throw Eric Gray into that group as well as like these guys, surefire guys are coming back and guys that we know are actually really productive players as well. But there's a lot of questions at running back, and I'm super excited to see who emerges from that position, because what was this conference last year? This conference was defense and running the football. Those are the teams that got the job done. Why did Oklahoma State maybe not get the rock in at the end of the game there? Jalen Warren was not in the field. He was injured in the end of the year. Why did they have so much success, Baylor, throughout the season? Abram Smith was effing fantastic. Why was Kansas State's offense so much more explosive than it normally is? Deuce Vaughn was there. I mean, Letty Brown was the only game. Well, how did West Virginia make a bowl game? Because Letty Brown was Letty Brown. This conference last year had so many great running backs in it across the board. And so this conference has done a great job adapting. The coaches have done a really good job adapting their teams to whatever they have. I'm curious to see if it flips and goes to a more of a passing heavy league, because there's not as many proven running back. There's not many proven quarterbacks out there, but like you got Quinn Ewers, you've got JT Daniels now, you might have Bijan, Gary Bohannon or Blake Shapen. You got Adrian Martinez. Like, are these going to be more pass happy offenses because a lot of those great running backs are gone? So many questions at an RB position. We'll be tackling that this week as well. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at LO Big 12. You guys can follow me at Josh Neighbors _. You guys can find the show wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as well. Till next time, my friends, as always, stay safe.